This is an NBC News special report. Here's Willie Geist.
Good morning. I'm Willie Geist in New York. We are coming on the air with the launch of a new era in space travel. 70-year-old British billionaire Richard Branson is aboard his Virgin Galactic ship Unity, about to rocket 50 miles above Earth, where he and 5 crew members will experience a few minutes of weightlessness before returning and landing on a runway in the New Mexico desert. The mission began with Virgin's Unity spaceship hanging below a mothership. It then will be released momentarily to touch the edge of outer space. Branson is making the trip this week, a week and a half ahead of the world's richest man, Jeff Bezos, who plans to do the same on his own Blue Origin ship. As we listen in, let's bring in Mike Massimino. He's a former NASA astronaut, the current senior advisor for space programs at the Intrepid Sea, Air and Space Museum in New York. And Ron Garan, also a former NASA astronaut who logged more than 179 days in space over his career. Gentlemen, good morning to you both. It's so great to have you with us. Mike, let me begin with you. As Tom said, this is not something we've seen before, even those of you who have been to orbital space. What do you make of what you've seen so far this morning?
Well, Willie, thanks for having me. It's a pretty exciting day. I think this really marks a time where we've gone from governments going into space to a vehicle that has been designed to bring customers, researchers, tourists, people who want to enjoy the experience into space. So it's a very historic day. A lot of work has gone into this. A lot of work needs to be done during the flight, but it's a very, very exciting day for everyone involved.
Colonel Garan, you've been to the International Space Station a couple times, 4 spacewalks under your belt. What do you imagine these passengers are feeling and going through right now?
Well, it's probably a mixed bag. I mean, there's certainly excitement, but there's also probably some butterflies in there. And I think they all are well aware this is a life-changing moment for them, and hopefully they're savoring it.
And what do you think, Colonel, is the feeling that they're about to experience? This is sort of the calm before the moment when that VSS Unity spacecraft separates from the mothership and begins that rocket ride up to the apogee and then back down. It'll happen very quickly. What is that sensation? There aren't many people on Earth who can speak to it, and you're one of them.
Yeah, I think they're going to experience a lot of G-force with the acceleration. They're going to be going really fast, and they're going to get there really fast, and then they're going to go from being pushed back into their seat from that force to being weightless instantly when the engine kicks off, and that's going to be really exciting because that's the moment where they realize that their dream had just come true, that they're weightless, they're in space, and the most amazing thing is going to be that view out the window when they see the curvature of the Earth. They're going to watch the sky turn from blue to black. They're going to see the thinness of the atmosphere. It's going to be absolutely incredible.
Colonel, we're about to see the separation. Tom Costello, I want to go back to you. We are seconds away from the moment here. Let's watch.
Release, release, release right now.
Rocket motor burn. There's Mach 1 trimming now. Trim complete. Unity is pointed directly up and heading to space. Things are looking great. We are 25 seconds into the burn now, approaching Mach 2. 30 seconds, Mach 2. Everything's looking really good and stable. 40 seconds. 45 seconds. 50 seconds, approaching Mach 3. There's Mach 3. And 60 seconds, and that is a full duration burn, folks. We are headed to space. And the passengers in the back have been cleared to unstrap. Our predicted apogee is 279,000 feet and climbing. The pilots are now unlocking the feather, and
so this is it. This is where we should be experiencing, or they should be experiencing, weightlessness for about 3 to 4 minutes. And we expect we're going to have a live shot from within that spaceship. And now they're going to start feathering the wings back so that they can begin the very slow process of re-entering. And as we've said, you know, this is a critical moment as they enjoy those few moments of apogee, of weightlessness.
Feet now and climbing. As soon as we cross the boundary to space, we'll hear a word from our founder, Sir Richard Branson.
Once they cross the boundary to space, Richard Branson will be speaking, and we expect him to make some sort of a major announcement from space. And I'm listening with you to Virgin Mission Control. Lots of applause on the ground here, because this is what they have been working on for 17 years, building to this moment. And the hope is that paying passengers will be coming along very soon.
We're receiving the audio over the broadcast, but I know Richard is saying something inspirational.
Tom, as we wait for the images from inside the spacecraft of that weightlessness, I think back to the interview you did with Richard Branson, where he said, "I've been dreaming about this day since I was a kid. When I watched Americans walk on the moon on July 20th, 1969, I started to dream of this moment."
Remember the day, remember where you are.
Yeah, and I think they just said 280,000 feet right now. You know, it's funny, Willie, that's one of my earliest memories. I was 6 years old, and my dad woke me up at 11 o'clock at night and said, "Don't forget this moment, the astronauts are walking on the moon." Interesting that the same impression, in fact, on Richard Branson, with really, I think, everybody who was watching from planet Earth on that day. And now this is the culmination of his dreams, of now taking his own space flight, not to the space station, not to the moon, but to an altitude of 56 miles. Here we go. We got some images from inside.
There are the pictures.
And again, we're waiting to hear what Richard Branson has to say. We've been led to believe some sort of a major announcement, assuming the technology works and he can get the live shot out of there.
Re-entry portion of our flight now, and the mission.
Tom, we've been using the term feathering here.
Okay, they're heading
as Unity climbs and lands. What does that mean exactly? What are we watching here?
Natural and intuitive for passengers.
Well, the bottom line here is that they have folded those, you know, I may even defer to the expert in terms of Mike, because you've got a pilot right there and an astronaut in terms of how this works, because it's a delicate procedure as they feather the wings back for re-entry.
Shockwaves form on top of the cabin, which are audible.
Mike Massimino, what does that mean exactly to feather as they return here and land shortly on a runway in New Mexico?
Yeah, it's really interesting technology that they're using here. They're kind of combining the aspects of a capsule reentry, which is fairly safe, so they can feather those the wings so that they kind of form in line with the spacecraft, so that it can enter and take the heat of reentry in the best way, and then they can deploy them again for the landing. So it's kind of combining what we've seen before with a capsule entry, along with like a space shuttle or glider landing on a runway. So pretty innovative and a cool way to do it.
Colonel Garan, you flew F-16s in the United States Air Force.
Yeah, I did, and you know, Mike really explained that well. The whole tail boom changes in configuration, so they're getting the best of both worlds, the best of the aerodynamics of a capsule and the aerodynamics of an aircraft.
On track for the glide.
Passengers have taken their seats again. They're strapped in. Let's bring in Stephanie Ruhle, NBC News senior business correspondent, looking at this space race among billionaires. Steph, this is a man, Richard Branson, who tried to circle the globe in a hot air balloon. That was an ill-fated trip. Crossed the Atlantic once and not twice, but got there on his second trip, crossing the Atlantic. This, I guess, the next frontier for Richard Branson.
Without a doubt, Willie, he's broken records for kiteboarding. Richard Branson is a true daredevil. But whether you're talking about Richard Branson or Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, think about these billionaires who are going after this space, the final frontier. They've achieved all sorts of success, betting on themselves and their own brands. If there's one thing Richard Branson is absolutely known for and fantastic at, it's branding. And look at today. You saw that launch, boom, Virgin Galactic. We're watching this on his own network. And this really is going to be the first push into commercial space travel. And if that's where we're going, there will be room for a Jeff Bezos or Richard Branson. So you mentioned it earlier, sort of this bickering. Is Richard Branson actually making it into space? The Blue Origin team says no, they aren't. But from a global perspective, for the millions of people, Willie, who are home watching this, he is absolutely in outer space. And Richard Branson is pursuing and fulfilling his dream to be the first one out there.
Yeah, Steph, there was a picture, by the way, posted this morning by Richard Branson having breakfast with none other than Elon Musk before he left to take his flight. Steph, the question we were debating earlier on Sunday today is this really another step forward? Is this the step toward commercial space travel, which so far at this moment goes for $250,000 a pop for a seat on one of these spacecrafts? Are they bringing this to the people, or are these just sort of joy rides for these billionaires?
Well, the plan is to bring this to the people, but let's think about what people. It's the richest of the rich people. And you and I also know, Willie, over the last 10 years, the richest people in the world have gotten a whole lot richer, so they can certainly afford it. And these guys are now betting on themselves and their space.
Steph, I'm going to interrupt you. Richard Branson speaking. Let's listen.
And now I'm looking down at a beautiful spaceport. Congratulations to everybody for creating such a beautiful, beautiful place. Congratulations to all our wonderful team at Virgin Galactic for 17 years of hard work to get us this far.
All right, so I'm so
Richard Branson saying space is a beautiful place, thanking everyone who made that mission possible, admiring the view outside of VSS Unity. Steph, I'll let you pick it back up.
We are so excited for them to land.
You know, luxury and extreme travel is what Richard Branson does by profession. Without a doubt, the goal here is how do we now move this into commercial, obviously very high-end travel. If this trip is successful and Jeff Bezos' mission is successful, clearly both of them would like to make the next venture to be in making this a commercial mission. For Richard Branson, his mission is publicly funded. He's got all sorts of partners here. Jeff Bezos, this has definitely been privately funded. And the question for the richest of the rich adventurers out there, if both become available, what do they want to do? Branson's effort, more of a plane, where Jeff Bezos is truly that rocket experience. But when you say, are they going to bring it to the people, it's a small, small, small sliver of the richest, most adventurous people.
Yeah, at $250,000 a pop, that's a pretty small sliver for now, but they hope sometime down the road to change that. Mike Massimino, what does it feel like on the human body to go through what that crew of 6 just went through? 2 pilots, 4 passengers. As we see those internal cameras, all smiles. It appears everybody's doing well. What does it feel like, though, on your body to go through that?
Well, they're feeling great right now, just out of pure joy, I would imagine. But they've gone through some different experience. You know, they were on 1 gravity. They probably pulled some G's going up to space. They were weightless for a while, so you're floating there, and your vestibular system is now floating as well, so your sense of motion is a little bit distorted. And then you come back down, and the G-forces build up again. So that's what's happened to them, but I think all of that is overridden by just pure joy and exhilaration of what they went through. They had jobs to do. They needed to do that. But I think just the excitement and the happiness that they're experiencing right now is the overriding feeling.
And Tom Costello, it looks like we have a clean, safe touchdown and landing on that runway.
Could not be more perfect here on this beautiful day in New Mexico, and it went just perfectly according to plan. The only delay was it left an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes late because we had winds on the ground. That kind of delayed the fueling this morning. Other than that, this could not have gone any better. It seems to have just gone flawlessly from the moment that they lifted off all the way through, lighting the rocket, accelerating to 56 miles or so above the Earth. I'll be interested to see what the number is. What number did they hit? You know, 56 or 50 miles above the Earth. And as we've said many times, NASA and the Pentagon and the FAA recognize 50 miles as, in fact, the edge of space. Full stop on the runway here at Spaceport America.
What an extraordinary moment. And Colonel Garan, let's talk about what happens from here. We know next week Jeff Bezos and Blue Origin get their turn in a very different ship, a rocket. We know that Elon Musk, of course, and SpaceX are working on their own orbital spacecraft. What does this moment, what does this day, what does next week put together? What do they mean for the possibilities in the future?
Yeah, I think this historic moment and the historic moments to come are the first baby steps, if you will, to opening up space for everyone. And you know, Stephanie talked about how right now it's just the billionaires, but it's a it's reminiscent of the early days of aviation, where it was a very rare occurrence that somebody flew in an airplane. And I think we're right at the verge or the dawn of a new era of space travel, where flying on a spaceship will become as commonplace as flying on an airplane. And I think, and not just into orbit, but from point A to point B on the planet, where during that flight you are up above the atmosphere. And so I think this is a historic moment, and I think all these steps are leading to that. You know, when you bring in reusability, economies of scale, I think we're going to see those prices come down, and it's going to be more feasible for more people.
The possibilities are thrilling. Colonel Ron Garan, Mike Massimino, Stephanie Ruhle, and Tom Costello on the ground for us in New Mexico. An exciting morning. Thank you all for being with us. This has been NBC's special coverage of the Virgin Galactic spaceflight. The coverage continues on MSNBC with more tonight on NBC Nightly News. I'm Willie Geist in New York.
Nose gear touchdown.